something weird is happening with Meghan Markle, and it's not just regular tabloid rumors. This time, we're talking about something that goes much deeper than criticism about her clothes or royal family fights. Megyn Kelly just opened up a story that's been going around for years, and it might be one of Meghan's biggest problems yet. It all started with a strange old video Meghan posted of herself as a kid pretending to be queen. Seems harmless, right? But it didn't make her look more relatable like she probably wanted. Instead, it started something totally different. People didn't just watch the video, they studied it very carefully. And that's when people started talking again. Here's the problem. Her age, her real age. Something about Meghan's timeline just doesn't seem right to more and more people. For years, she said she was born in 1981, which would make her in her early to mid-40s. But when you start looking at public records, school photos, and reunion mentions, things get confusing really fast. We're not just talking about one or two things that don't match. There's a whole pattern of events, documents, and appearances that don't fit nicely with that birth year, and Megyn Kelly just brought it all back into the spotlight. The photo that really got people talking again? An old group picture from Northwestern University's salsa club. On the surface, it's nothing special, just a bunch of students hanging out. But once people started looking deeper, they noticed something strange. Most of the people in that photo were born in the early 70s, making them now in their early 50s. Megyn, if you believe her official birth year, should have been almost 10 years younger than the rest of them. So, why does she look like she fits right in with that group? Same feeling, same energy, same age range. It's one of those things you can't ignore once you see it. But the salsa club photo is just one piece. When you start putting it together with other clues, changed alumni lists, mysteriously unclear yearbook entries, and social circles that don't quite make sense, something starts to feel wrong, and that's where Megyn Kelly went all in. She basically said out loud what a lot of people have only dared to whisper. Is Meghan Markle actually older than she says? And if so, why lie about it? To be clear, taking off a few years isn't unusual, especially in Hollywood. That's almost expected. But Meghan's situation is different. She's not just a former actress trying to get better roles. She's a duchess, a public figure who joined one of the most watched families on the planet. If there's even a chance that her official story was changed to show a more perfect version of herself, especially to fit the role of young, fresh, royal, it raises much bigger questions. And then there's the strange case of her son Archie's birth certificate. At first it showed Meghan's full name, Rachel Meghan Markle. Pretty normal, but later the certificate was changed. Her name was completely removed and replaced with Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. That might sound like a harmless formatting change, but for legal documents, especially ones as official as a birth certificate, that's not common. And it makes you wonder, if that kind of detail can be quietly changed, what else can? It's all starting to look like a pattern, a carefully controlled image that doesn't allow room for inconvenient facts. Meghan has always been described as someone who's reinvented herself, but this might be more than just a makeover. This could be a complete rewrite. And people are starting to notice. The deeper you go, the more you start to realize this might not just be about age. This could be about an entire story built from scratch. Meghan's public image has always been perfectly polished. From her Hollywood days to her royal chapter, every detail has been carefully placed. The underdog actress who found love with a prince, faced problems, and became a global humanitarian. It's a perfect story. Until you start looking closer, people are now digging into every available record with fresh eyes. Alumni lists from schools she went to are being cross-checked. Old classmates are showing up in online forums with unclear memories. One person remembers Meghan at a campus event in the late 90s, something that wouldn't match with her claimed timeline. Another person insists she was already working office jobs while supposedly still in college. These aren't definite proof on their own, but together they create a strange shifting background that's hard to ignore. Then there's the way Meghan acts when questioned. She's rarely direct about basic details. Interviews that should clear things up often add more confusion. She's either unclear or overly practiced, like that Oprah interview. Remember how she avoided certain questions while strongly defending others? When someone avoids simple facts but leans heavily into emotional responses, it makes people curious, especially when that person is already under a global spotlight. Critics say this is all just unfair targeting, that Meghan's being treated badly because she doesn't fit the traditional mold. But here's the thing. This scrutiny isn't about skin color, accent, or fashion. It's about whether the public was sold a version of someone that isn't completely real. Whether it was intentional or not, there's a growing feeling that Meghan's life story might be more fiction than fact. And what happens when people start believing they've been misled? Trust disappears. Suddenly, it's not just tabloids questioning her, it's fans, journalists, even former supporters. That's when you start hearing terms like PR stunt and story manipulation thrown around. Meghan's entire brand is built on being authentic, vulnerable, and truthful. If people begin to doubt that foundation, everything else starts to shake. This is where it gets messy because Meghan hasn't just lived in the spotlight, she's used it as a weapon. She sued tabloids, fought back in documentaries, and presented herself as the voice for silenced women. That kind of power comes with responsibility. And when people feel like they've been manipulated by someone in that position, the backlash is brutal. It's not just about inconsistencies anymore. It becomes personal. People feel tricked. Let's talk about another weird detail: her early resume. It used to be found online with odd credits and unclear timelines. Some job roles overlapped. Some made no sense location-wise. There were inconsistencies in dates, descriptions, even what shows she supposedly worked on. None of that mattered much when she was just a B-list actress trying to make it. But when you marry into royalty, every line gets reviewed. And that's the danger of changing your story after the fact. Once you become a public figure, especially one as controversial as Meghan, people don't just listen, they investigate. An unclear timeline becomes a headline. A missing document becomes a conspiracy theory. A change certificate becomes fuel for the fire. Even silence gets interpreted as guilt. Meghan's silence on this specific age rumor is loud. She hasn't denied it. She hasn't confirmed it. She just ignores it, hoping it'll die down like so many controversies before. But this one feels different because now people aren't just asking what she might be hiding, they're asking why. And that question is far more dangerous. One of the strangest pieces of this whole story is how Meghan always seems to be one step ahead of the truth. It's like she's expecting questions before they're even asked, managing her image in ways that feel more planned than natural. Whether it's carefully timed interviews, controlled social media posts, or legal threats to media outlets, everything feels rehearsed, like it's all part of a larger script. That's why even the smallest inconsistencies don't go unnoticed. People aren't just asking what's wrong. They're starting to wonder if anything we've been told was ever real. Take her schooling, for example. Meghan's official timeline puts her at Northwestern University in the late 90s and early 2000s. But conflicting mentions from club lists, archived newsletters, and casual photos suggest she was socializing and attending events with people much older than her. Some of those same people graduated years before she was supposedly even enrolled. That's not just a mistake, it's a red flag. And every time someone tries to connect the dots, they find a new piece that doesn't fit the puzzle. Even her acting career has unclear corners. Certain casting calls she claimed to be part of weren't active the year she said they were. Others were filmed in locations she's never been connected to, yet her name shows up on unofficial production lists. These kinds of things might be brushed off as paperwork errors or forgotten memories, but not when they pile up the way they have with Meghan. There's a paper trail, and then there's a smoke trail. And in this case, it's starting to smell like something's been burning quietly in the background for years. There's also the issue of her digital footprint, or the lack of it. For someone born in 1981, the early 2000s should be filled with grainy MySpace pics, college blog posts, or old class forums. Yet very little exists. It's almost like her digital presence was erased before it ever became searchable. That might sound paranoid, but in an era where even high school yearbooks end up online, the absence of basic history feels almost too clean. And when you're building a public brand on transparency, that kind of erasing invites suspicion. What really bothers people is how much of Meghan's story depends on belief. You're expected to take her word for it because she says it with emotion, with polish, with conviction. But when facts don't line up, emotion isn't enough. The minute people feel like they've been emotionally manipulated, the backlash turns nasty. And that's exactly what's happening now. Not just because of the age issue, but because of the bigger implications hiding behind it. If Meghan really did change her age, whether to land better roles, fit into a royal story, or simply maintain control over her image, it means her entire story was edited at the source. And if she was willing to change something as basic as her date of birth, what else might have been adjusted along the way? her relationships, her upbringing, even the circumstances around her royal fallout. None of it feels off limits anymore. The doubt has crept in, and once it's there, it spreads. The irony is brutal. Meghan has always portrayed herself as a victim of the media's lies.